Welcome to Dr. Roger and Friends, the bright side of longevity, hosted by 3 Ps in a podcast, Doc Roger, Teresa, and Danielle. Thanks for joining us for Coffee and Conversation. Kay Van Norman is an internationally known healthy aging expert. She is the president of her company, Brilliant Aging. She has directed the Keiser Institute on Aging, serves on international boards, speaks and consults around the world, and has an extensive list of publications, including 2 books and scores of journal articles. Kay is living her purpose and passion as a lifelong dancer and backcountry horsewoman.
Well, welcome everybody. Glad to have you with us. And today I am absolutely thrilled. You know, I always say our guests, I've known them a while and they're friends and all that. But, you know, I have to go with the superlatives this time. You know, Kay Van Norman is one of the most gracious horse people, but gracious person in my circle of friends. Next to these 2 I work with all the time. She's right up there. And she demonstrates such hospitality to us every year, and she lives in paradise, at least for most of the year, right? In winter, it can get a little challenging in Bozeman, in Bozeman, Montana. And she's gracious enough to invite us out there. And she and her husband, George, are just excellent hosts. And Teresa and I usually go out, and it is just magnificent. But I feel I'm falling way short of what you offer us when you host us, but here you are, and we hope we're gracious hosts for you, and we're very, very pleased for you to be with us today, Kay.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Roger. I'm thrilled to be with you. It's always a pleasure, and I hope I can provide a little value today.
Well, no doubt about that on our part, and well, I'm gonna let my accomplices here jump right in, but I have my part that I'll be patient with. Go right ahead.
Okay.
Thanks, Roger. So, Kay, your life work has been with health and wellness. What lessons do you think the pandemic has taught us that we can learn in order to live healthier?
Well, I think one of the main things is that we can't always rely just on external opportunities to help improve our well-being and maintain our well-being. I think it was a real shock, for many people that had a pretty well-established routine, perhaps, of going to the gym or doing, some kind of physical activity in groups, that suddenly all of this was just shut down in a blink of an eye. And so if you don't have a sort of an internal framework built around the idea that you have to be the driver behind your own well-being, then I think it was a very difficult time for many people. I mean, I hear a lot of people talking about the COVID-15, which is the 15 pounds everybody gained from not being able to go to their classes. So that, I think it was a big one. And I think the other is just how important that social connection is. And yes, it's great to be able to go online and talk to people and stuff, but it's not the same as that personal connection. And, I heard people talking about missing just hugs and that even just touching people. And so I think there's a lot of lessons in this for us. And I also think that it's going to be interesting to see how many people that did not embrace opportunities for well-being when they were so readily available started feeling a little like, well, wait a minute. That's something I might want to do, and now I can't do it. Because I've actually talked to some senior living community program directors that said there are people, especially men, who haven't been involved in the programs, who are watching their spouses engage online, like through the on in-room TV channels, et cetera, and kind of going, oh, well, maybe I'll do that with you. And so I don't know. I think there's kind of everything's usually a double-edged sword. Others can be positive, maybe a lot of negative, but so I think that's it in general, just kind of the overall.
I think a lot of people have also been made acutely aware of their vulnerability and how paying attention to your health, you talk about all the time and have for so long, physically, mentally, socially, and with purpose. We're going to get to that in just a little while. Provides us an element of resilience and stimulates our immune system, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's very interesting that I was just reading about some of the vaccines that they're trying to work on for this COVID are really focused on improving the immune response to it. And so instead of actually trying to prevent it, it's like they're just trying to improve the immune response to it. And so I think it's so critical. It shines a light on how important it is to create a lifestyle that uplifts that immune response, not only to something like COVID, but just to everything. Do you have good nutrition? Are you being physically active enough to keep your body functioning at its best capacity? Are you having a positive mental attitude? Are you doing the things that you should be doing to stay healthy? Because most people know what they should be doing, but they just have a hard time making themselves do it often.
Yeah. Hey, you guys are serious about this. I really do need to do this. This is a wake up.
Well, it's always been about chronic disease. And so that's so long term. And we just aren't long term thinkers necessarily. And so interesting during this pandemic, like the broccoli is flying off the grocery store shelves. So it's like such a dramatic change. Suddenly it is about infectious disease and it's about immediate, like short term health improvements. It's just such a big pivot for us, I think.
I think the whole healthcare system, you see these healthcare workers. I mean, they seem like they're undergoing PTSD because in my entire medical career, we have not had threats like this to infectious disease that we couldn't manage, that we couldn't cure most, couldn't help most. And to see so many die despite their efforts, they are in absolute shock. And I think medicine will learn from this, and I think medical education will probably learn from this.
I do hope that individuals, like you said, Roger, I think people are feeling very vulnerable in many ways, not only just health vulnerability, but food source vulnerability. I mean, that we've never in my lifetime had an issue with, having empty store shelves and stuff. So I think it's a big wake up call for people to realize that we've taken so much for granted, that we really need to pay attention and, create our own world in such a way that, maybe we do have some, stocked up food. Maybe we do have growing a garden so that we have access to fresh vegetables, that we're really taking a more personal responsibility for creating that sort of bubble of wellness around ourselves, I think is really important.
Kay, you mentioned earlier what we know and what we do kind of being two different things. So, so many of us do seek greater well-being. We know that's what's good for us. We know what we should do, but there's that gap between knowing and doing. So, and I know you have a solution for that called the Vitality Portfolio, and that's your concept about bringing intention into action. So can you tell us more about that?
Oh, sure. That has always been a fascination of mine, that gap between knowing and doing, and that gap between intentions and actions. How do you give people little baby stepping stones to move from intention into action? So I started thinking about this over the years, and I think it's been probably, maybe 10 years ago that I started talking talking about something called Vitality Portfolio, and then really kind of solidified it into a concept and resources about 5 years ago. But anyway, ultimately, in short, most people are pretty comfortable with at least the concept of a financial portfolio. They know in order to have any kind of financial security, they should make a plan, they need to balance their assets, and they need to make regular deposits. There's that, rubber meets the road at making the deposits. And so I did the same thing with Vitality. I tell people you need to make a Vitality plan, because, oftentimes people will spend more time planning a family vacation than they've ever spent planning their lifelong vitality. So you need to make a plan, and then you need to balance the vitality assets, which I have identified as your whole person wellness assets, and the core assets, which I talk about resilience and ageless thinking as being those core assets, and then your functional assets of strength, mobility, and endurance, because the body is the way you interact with the world, and it allows you to keep your world as large as possible. As you lose function, your world just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And so between the making a plan, balancing your vitality assets, and then the last one is you have to make regular deposits into your vitality. So I'm asking people to after they make that plan and really evaluate, what am I doing in each one of my dimensions of wellness? Now, whether you talk about 4 dimensions or 6 dimensions or 7 or whatever, that concept that we're more than just one dimensional. We have all body, mind, spirit, all of these things built in. And what am I doing on a daily basis, on a habitual basis, to make deposits, then withdrawals from my vitality portfolio? And I think when people kind of get this concept, it's like, oh yeah, what have I done today? Have I done anything that's building up my vitality bank account, I guess, so that when I do have to make a withdrawal from it, I have something. I don't go in, under that line. I don't go into debt basically in my health. And so that's the concept. And I created a video series around it. I created, worksheets and all kinds of things that people can help people develop their own personal vitality plan. And like right now on my website, under Ignite Personal Vitality, that tab, there's some free downloadable stuff. There's a starter toolkit on the Vitality portfolio that everybody's welcome to download and just work through it and see if I can get some insights.
We'll make sure that we have a link to that on the website when we post this, so anybody who's listening can take advantage of those free resources.
Hey, you just mentioned ageless. Did you say living or thinking? Ageless thinking, I think you said. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, ageless thinking. I mean, for a long time, and of course, since you guys have been friends and colleagues for so many years, you know that I've talked incessantly about ageism and thinking differently about aging, but it truly is the key, because so many times people allow their age to change the way they think about something. And one of the most stark examples I always use is that young people with really profound disabilities are given resources, tools, and encouragement to overcome those challenges and live fully in spite of them. Yet somehow when people get older and have some kind of a functional challenge, they're only given resources and tools to cope with those challenges instead of overcome. And there's such a profound difference in that mindset between coping or overcoming, which results in very profoundly different outcomes. So, I think it's so critical to get the mind working in the direction that regardless of challenges, that you're looking for adaptive strategies to keep moving forward in life. You're going to look for adaptive strategies to keep your world as large as possible, rather than just, making your world smaller to cope with it. You're going to use adaptive strategies just to keep your world as large as possible so you can live fully. Well, that's kind of my short answer of the ageless thinking.
That's a fantastic one. And Ellen Langer would agree with you. She's someone we've talked about a lot about.
Yes.
Yes. As you know so well. Well, I want to congratulate you. You have, in the latest edition of the Journal of Active Aging, you have a magnificent article on purpose-centered senior living.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for championing that topic. I think you're right on target with that, how important purpose is. And by the way, you're back-to-back with our own Teresa Beshwaite's article on widowhood and supporting well-being in that. So